Okay, RACER fans, Robin Miller, Marshall Pruett, David Malsher, the Three Musketeers, after the first of two races at Houston. And you know what? We're race fans deep down inside. And, yeah, we're journalists, and we like to write cool stories, and we love drama. But you couldn't have asked for anything more than we got today, and that was we got a championship again because Helio Castroneves had a horrible day, started it with a 49-point lead. He now leads by 8 because Scott Dixon swept the board, kicked everybody's butt. And it's nothing against Roger Penske's team or nothing against Helio, who's going for his first championship. We just wanted this championship to come down to the last race at Fontana, and it's going to, Marshall.
We have Helio after the last couple races, Robin. Seems like he's had horrible days, yet still comes out ahead, gains points on the guys who were running up front. Now, finally, Dixie, I think maybe the racing gods gave him back a little bit of what they took over the past couple races.
If you're Helio, Davey, I know you've been doing this for 16 years and you've won 3 Indy 500s, but mentally, I don't care. He ain't going to sleep tonight.
No. And, I mean, the fact that although he got out of the car and was talking positive about how the car feels, the fact is he spent way too much of this weekend facing backwards or in runoff areas. It wasn't a champion's drive. It looks like the pressure's getting to him. And, he's suffering for it. And, whereas someone like a Dixon or a Franchitti in these situations, they've won it before. They know how to handle it. Helio's, really looking like a guy that hasn't won it before, and it's like he's trying to snatch a title early instead of just taking things how they come.
Of course, it was no fault of his own, guys. I mean, it's not his fault that the gearbox, they have gearbox issues, but it just seems like he'd finished every lap going into this race, Marshall. And, sooner or later, you can't have a season like that. It's only happened once. That was Tony Kanaan in 2004.
You look at who's chasing him in the points. You have Dixon. You have Pagenaud. You've got Wilson. What do these guys do every race? Maximum attack. I mean, you know that when they go home, they left nothing on the table. I'm not saying Helio has intentionally left anything on the table throughout this season, but if you look at his drives to get to the championship lead and you look at the rest, a weekend like this really is kind of distinguished things, right? Who came out on top today? The guy who attacks just without end. Helio kind of tried to jump into that. It kind of looked like that this weekend. He wanted to be a super aggressive guy, and I don't know if that fits his driving style.
I know this. I don't think I'd want Scott Dixon chasing me, only 8 points behind. He's won 4 races this year. If he hadn't had some bad luck, he's probably at least got a half a dozen. And I think he's right where he wants to be. He's 8 points behind. And tomorrow morning, he's coming back tomorrow morning to try and take the lead going to Fontana.
Yeah, and again, as we saw at Sonoma, as we saw at Baltimore, he's not trying to win this by backing into it. I mean, he is just going for it. He doesn't mind sticking his... him and Will had a fantastic battle. It was a bummer that the Yellows kind of screwed that up because that was going to be a hell of a race for first anyway. And, his tactics are just to go flat out. But the great thing is, even though there's a championship on the line, tomorrow he's going to drive flat out again. That's just him. It's in his nature.
Cool podium, too. Simona gets second, her first podium. Justin Wilson gets a well-deserved third.
Yeah, Justin's he's starting to make a little home of that recently, Robin. 2 podiums from the last 3 races. Simona, I have to tell you, she was really happy to be up there, but she looked like she belonged, right? She didn't look like, oh, this is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. She did what we've all expected her to be able to do. I don't know if I would say her lack of podiums has been so much on her. I just think that that team, other than Tony's win at Indy, it's the first time they're on the podium this year, yeah? So good on her. And, again, she looked like she belonged.
We always say the NBC production meetings, how does Justin Wilson never get a chance for Penske or Ganassi? This guy's probably the most underrated, underappreciated guy in the series, Davey.
Yeah, I wrote about that just a couple of weeks ago. He is. I mean, he goes up and down the order like a horse draws, and he just can make magic happen. I mean, it was funny that Servia was speaking to us at the end of Sonoma about how tenacious he is and being able to stick behind people, even with the restricted downforce situation. And yet, who is chasing Servia today? It's Wilson, looking like that mad dog that Oriole told us about. And he's a phenomenal driver, great car control. if he could ever actually start on the front row, he'd be winning races.
Well, and the other thing, it was a tough day for James Hinchcliffe. We're not sure who he's going to be next year. Will he be at Andretti? Will he go to Jimmy Vasser's team? Sebastian Bourdais had a hell of a run, another guy that Marshall wrote about the other day. We're not sure what's going to happen to him. But I think Luca Felipe might have cinched his ride today.
I think he had that cinched before he stepped into the car at Mid-Ohio, Robin. Brian Herta has been high on him the whole time. And look what he did today, except for that yellow, which caught out Will as well. Luca was in P3 and a deserved P3. And look where he qualified. I mean, this, to me, this weekend was yet another confirmation of guys got raw talent. That team is very capable. And, you know, luck didn't fall their way. But I want to see this kid back in the car next year.
Another guy that had another good day, Simon Pagenaud, still in the hunt, only 50 points out. I mean, there's 2 races to go. There's still quite a bit of points. But Pagenaud's just been, the last 2 or 3 races, it looks like the guy we expected to, David.
Yeah, today he was a bit up and down, but, you know, he seemed to be trying to pass, or trying to not be passed rather than do the passing himself.
But he seemed to be really good on long runs and terrible at the start of a run.
Yeah, I mean, but I mean, you know, he kept it together. If the car's tricky, then drive within its limits and then push once it's working well. But I mean, Simon's always had that great racing brain that can work that stuff out. I mean, that's why he was so good in sports cars as well, right? So, yeah.
All right, we're going to wrap this up, but remember this. There were 10 in the top 10 today. 7 of them were Hondas, and this comes on the heels of Chip Ganassi announcing he's dropping Honda to go to Chevrolet next year, kids, and they're going to have twin turbos just like Chevrolet. You're the technical guy. I'm not sure I would go against the old Honda boys sometimes.
I could just say that we saw a press conference yesterday with the team that just won today with Honda saying they're going to the other guys, and they could win a championship and then change it in manufacturers. I have to admit, I hope it works out for them, but it's a strange one. There must be there's some dirt for us to dig up on the background behind this, Robin, because you don't kick butt like they're doing end of season and win and come close to a title and say, by the way, we're going somewhere else.
What do you think, Davey? They're 9-8 now. They're ahead in the championship.
I mean, Ganassi have done this before. They've switched at the end of '99. They went from Reynard Hondas to Lola Toyotas, and everyone thought, what the hell? And then Montoya, except from some reliability problems, kicked ass in 2000 and led like 820 laps. So, you know, it's a brave decision. If anyone can make it work, absolutely Ganassi can. But I do hope, therefore, that Andretti is going to switch to Honda.
Yeah, and I think it makes sense for Chip, fellas, because he's got General Motors in NASCAR. I understand all that. But I asked Michael Andretti today, we'll let you go with this. I asked Michael Andretti today, I said, okay, we've all got you going to Honda. And he says, I'm in a pretty tough spot right here because if I don't go to Honda now, I may never get another chance, and they've been really good to me. So if Michael goes to Honda or he doesn't go to Honda, I still think they're going to be a force next year. We appreciate you guys reading Racer Magazine, racer.com. We'll talk to you tomorrow after the race is over. Thanks.